Adam Hoge is still on vacation, but the show, it must go on. Dionne Miller is here. Peggy Kusinski is going to join the show, too, from the Peggy and Dion show. It's going to be a fun episode here in Hoge Jahns. Let's go. What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Hoge Jahns, brought to you by Old National Bank. Every play matters, whether it's on the field or in your financial life. The best teams win by delivering excellence at every level. Old National Bank, where relationships and results matter. Member FDIC. Adam Hoge is still in Hawaii, but I am here, and I am joined by Dionne Miller. Dionne, what's going on?
It's great. It's half of spring break in my house right now, so things are a little chaotic. You know how that goes when kids are out of routine and you're just kind of flying by, but that's fine. That's fine. 'Tis the season for that. We're trying to enjoy it. We have dueling spring breaks, so we're going to take time off at opposite times of the week for everybody, and it's great. It's great. I'm not in Hawaii like Adam Hoge, but that's okay.
I wouldn't want to be in Hawaii, though, right now.
Apparently not right now.
Apparently they're getting historic rains. I'm trying my best not to bug my podcast partner, but we have big podcasts to plan next week when we're at the NFL owners meetings in Arizona. That's right. So that's coming up right around the corner. But I imagine he's a bit wet right now. I hope he's okay. Yeah. I'll bother him later, but that's got to stink a little bit.
I hope they're staying in a home, because a hotel room can get super small if you really can't go anywhere. And you have double the amount of children than the rest of us do, but I can't imagine like how tight quarters get when you can't, like, you're expecting to be outside the whole time. I mean, when you book these things, you're like, what doesn't matter what our room is? We're never going to be there. And then when it pours, you have nowhere else to be. So I hope that they're finding ways to have fun nonetheless. I'm sure they are. We're
officially a 2 hotel room family now, or like a big suite, whatever comes cheapest. But it's the life we chose with four children. But that's a different podcast for a different day.
It is.
Welcome in, Hoge Jahns. You know the deal. You can read my stuff at allchgo.com. Use promo code JAHNS, JAHNS, for a 36 die-hard subscription offer. All my writing is there. We'll have plenty of stuff coming next week from Arizona, where we'll hear from Ben Johnson, Kevin Warren, George McCaskey, and, of course, General Manager Ryan Poles. Of course, there's even more availability with other coaches from other teams out there as well. So be sure to follow along. Dionne Miller has been nice enough to join the show many times. We've had a lot to talk about, but today's a kind of a special show because it's really kind of like the Peggy and Dion version of Hoge Jahns. Peggy Kusinski is going to join the show here in a matter of minutes. Should we be scared, worried, concerned? Like what's coming our way?
Well, let me just be clear. Anything that you plan to discuss, we will completely derail it, because that is exactly how our show goes every single time. And that's what makes it so much fun. I feel like it is kind of like Hoge Jahns. I feel like an OG Hoge Jahnser, because I've been listening to you guys since, I think, your very first podcast together, when you were both working at different places, maybe 2 places ago, I think, for both of you, when you started that. And I remember vividly, like, when I first started listening to you guys. And it is kind of like how Peggy and I are. We do come in with plans. We obviously are going to hit sports, but we always kind of venture off into just what's happening in life. And there are many times during our 2-hour show where we say, no, how did we get here? Wait, now how did we end up? Wait, what were we talking about? But that's what makes it fun. And that's why, why we enjoy it, why we look forward to it, is that we get to touch on a lot of things. We are pretty hyper Bears focused. I mean, we're on the home of the Bears, so we do talk about that a lot. I do find it, when you're talking about owners meetings, I find it so interesting how much that has become an appointment place for reporters to go. I don't think it used to be like that. I don't remember when that switch was. It used to kind of unassumingly happen, were owners meetings. And now it's like, that if you're not there, you're missing stuff. You get, I think, so much greater access there than we have in the past. And even for Ryan Poles to publicly say, when he was talking about not getting the compensatory picks, he's like, I'll see you guys at the owners' meetings and then we'll talk about it. You just know that he's going to take his guard down a little bit more. I think that's valuable access. It's pretty cool how that's shifted in that way.
It's definitely one of my favorite assignments since covering the NFL. I can vividly remember my first owners' meetings. It was where we're going this coming week or next week. It was in Arizona at the Biltmore, and we were having breakfast with Marc Trestman. That's what it used to be, like breakfast with the coaches. And some coaches would literally eat breakfast with you. So it was just myself, Lawrence Holmes from 670, who was actually out there. So sorry, 104.3 now the score, who was out there covering spring training, and just me and Marc Trestman. Marc Trestman had a whole full plate full of fruit. Now I'm eating eggs and bacon, and we're talking about everything and anything about the Chicago Bears for almost a full hour. Other reporters would come and go and ask questions. But then, like, after that, like, that's when the Brian Urlacher news broke that the Bears were no longer going to re-sign him. So that also came out of my first owners meeting. So that feels like yesterday, but that was over 10 years ago.
Yeah. And now it's like stations are planning to go. It's difficult for my role because I do cover the Bears almost exclusively in the wintertime during season. But then when it's not season, like, it's baseball. Tomorrow's opening day. And then, Illinois is in the Sweet 16, and we have to cover a bunch of those other things. So it makes it more difficult to go to that. But I do think it's really important connection. And we are in a season with the Bears where we have an owner, let me rephrase that. We have a general manager and a head coach who are very transparent, maybe more so than any combo we've had. More, I think others have claimed to be upfront and honest, and they were not at all.
Save those names for later. I want the names.
Right. But I do think that they are much more authentic with the way that they talk to us than we've had in the past. And when we think about, what direction are they going to go in the draft, or what are they going to do in free agency? I mean, you re-listen to what Ryan Poles said at the end of the season and what he said at the Combine. He's leaving like Easter eggs. He's leaving them, right? He's telling us. And if you're really listening, you can kind of follow along and predict what they may do in those moments to build the team the way that they want to. I think it's kind of a cool moment to be covering this team.
I don't anticipate just me and another reporter sitting down with Ben Johnson for breakfast.
Guessing no.
Next Monday, when that breakfast is scheduled amongst all the other coaches that are there, I don't think there will be even breakfast until after the interview is over. And the time length has changed on those breakfasts that we used to have with the coaches. They used to be like a full hour. Then it went to like 40 minutes. Now I think it's a half hour. I understand why, but looking forward to talking to Ben Johnson about a number of things, because he hasn't really talked too much since free agency is open. So this will be the first time we'll hear from him. But let's save those Ben Johnson thoughts, because this is going to be a Ben Johnson jam-packed episode where, Peggy and Dion from ESPN 1000 are going to get with it or share your thoughts. And that's going to be the second half of our show. But I want to begin with this before we take our first break. The big news in Chicago right now, it's two things. It's Illinois in the Sweet 16, and then you have Pete Crow-Armstrong getting a massive deal from the Chicago Cubs. As of recording right now, about 1:30 here in Chicago. I don't think I've seen the exact numbers. One report has over $100 million. So this is our next segment. Of course, it's brought to you by Old National Bank, where every play matters, whether it's on the field or in your financial life. The best teams win by delivering excellence at every level. Old National Bank, where relationships and results matter. Member FDIC. So this is Checking It Out, sponsored by Old National Bank. So with PCA getting his massive deal to be the future of the Chicago Cubs, give me a short list, Dionne, of the next Bears you would expect to get their massive deals to be fixtures of this club in the foreseeable future.
Well, the name, like the easy name that comes to mind immediately is Darnell Wright, because of the position that he's played. I was looking at it. He is the only member of the offensive line that's been here. He's the longest tenured member of the offensive line currently. Started every game his entire career. He's been healthy and active and grown into a second team All-Pro and become this like consistent part of that front five in a different way. I think he really has blossomed under Dan Rochar. I think that has been kind of what's unlocked him a little bit. He's got the right coach there, and we've seen that from him. He's so unassuming. I remember I went to one of his little, like, they do the camps and they bring in kids, and it was almost like he couldn't believe someone was there, like, to talk to him about it, and that the kids were that interested in him. He was just kind of ho-hum about it. And I think that's kind of what they like, is that he's such a hard worker and he wants to be so good at his job. It makes sense to me that they would lock him up and continue to build the offensive line with someone young like him. And then when Ozzie Trapillo comes back, and I think they want him to stay in that position. And so that's, to me, the immediate one that comes to mind. I don't know. I was looking at some other ones that might be available, or ready for an extension. And I don't know that I had that many more on the list. I mean, Tyreek Stevenson, but I think they have a massive question mark over him right now. Like, nobody's thinking, okay, we know exactly who he's going to be. I think they like him. I don't know if they want him to be in their defense for an extended period of time. So that's interesting to me.
Like, at some point, the Caleb Williams contract will come into the conversation, but I agree with you on Darnell Wright. The interesting thing about Wright's situation that I don't think's been discussed enough is that he had to win over Ben Johnson and Dan Rochar. Let's not forget that he went through like this rigorous workout to figure out if he can meet the hits philosophy for Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles. That was part of his story pre-draft in Tennessee. The Bears went down to Tennessee, went down to Knoxville, and put him through this rigorous workout that everybody heard about on campus to see if he could fit the hits philosophy of Matt Eberflus. Fast forward to last year, and you have Dan Rochar basically questioning his, like, how in shape he is. And now we're talking about a second-team All-Pro who's due a massive extension sooner rather than later.
Yeah. He's earned it. He's earned it. And I appreciate that he wasn't, I mean, maybe internally, but from what it looked like, he was like, okay, you want me to do this? I'll do it. And I think he had kind of that, maybe that rap about not being in shape or not putting in the work. That was true, right? Before he was drafted, I believe that was true.
Right.
And to be a top 10 pick and then to go through that workout and prove that right, and then go through a coaching change and even find a way to take another step forward. And he's so young. You feel like, okay, if he's that moldable and that malleable to like do what they need him to do, I think that there's reason to invest in that. And it's important to have that consistency and familiarity and to feel his confidence growing. I think it's immeasurable that the value of being in a room with a guy like Joe Thuney. I don't think you can say, or Jonah Jackson or all those veterans. I think that's super helpful to him just to see how they go about their business and to learn that side of being a true pro and growing up. Like, but we've seen him kind of grow up before our eyes the last 3 seasons.
Here's a question.
And that's worth investing in.
Here's a question for you. With the Seattle Seahawks resetting the wide receiver market this week with their superstar receiver, what do you think is in store for Rome Odunze?
I don't know. I don't know, because I know how they feel about Luther Burden. And I think that one of the reasons DJ's not here anymore is because of how they feel about Luther Burden and Rome, and feel like that room is in good hands. They want more from Rome. I think the way he did his last like locker cleanout interview with us, it felt like he got basically told, it's time to step up your game. I mean, it felt like he was almost like, not wounded, but like he was just somebody who got very stern with him and just said, you didn't have the season we need from you, and you've got to figure out a way to take the next step. So I think it should be motivating to him. I mean, I remember when he came in, he was talking about Puka Nakua's rookie numbers and thinking he wanted to reach that. Well, now he's got, there's no one in front of him. Like, now there's a chance to take a big step. I think Luther is always going to have that chip on his shoulder and have that drive to do that. I think Rome needs the door to open. Sometimes guys need that, right? They're not stepping into that role because they don't have to. Well, now he has to. And I think the motivating factor for seeing a contract like Jackson Smith and Jigba and realizing what's available to you should be a motivating factor for him. But the Bears, I think, have to, that they're doing this. I find this stuff so fascinating, but that they're tempering their spending because they see that with Rome and Caleb are going to be at the same time needing that money if they trend the way we think they're going to.
Right, you got that 5th-year option at your disposal, but at the same time, that's still a hefty cap hit to take on your book. So JSN, he got that deal after 3 seasons. Rome Odunze is entering his 3rd season. So this is as crucial as this year is for Caleb Williams and his development. Same applies to Rome Odunze. So that is Checking It Out, brought to you by Old National Bank, where every play matters, whether it's on the field or in your financial life. The best teams win by delivering excellence at every level. Old National Bank, where relationships and results matter. Member FDIC. All right, so our next segment here, it's going to be interesting. Peggy Kusinski is a long-time friend of mine from the same part of town. I was literally just texting with her brother yesterday.
That's awesome.
So this should be fun. But first, our first time out. What if you could have reliable, intelligent Wi-Fi? And what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? That's 5 years. That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Imagine Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together, that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a 6th sense. And that sounds perfect for me. And it lets you stream the game even when the whole family's online. I have 3 boys, and yes, it works perfectly for me. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 full years. And here's the best part. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and Xfinity's best equipment included. Take it from me. A lot can change in 5 years. Championships are won, records are broken, dreams grow bigger. But your Wi-Fi, it should stay reliable, and the price should stay put. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply. And whether it's on the field or in your financial life, the best teams win by delivering excellence at every level. At Old National Bank, we believe every play matters. They have the best billboard that you can see on the Kennedy. There's already great ads for the Chicago Cubs up there. I'm telling you, check it out. From everyday checking to long-term planning and commercial banking, our team at Old National Bank is here to build momentum and help you move the ball forward. It all starts with a plan tailored for you by professionals you can trust. From simple tasks to bigger financial commitments, you can count on us to coordinate your needs with steady, knowledgeable guidance that brings clarity and confidence to each step. It's a partnership designed to help you feel supported, not just today, but well into the future. So whether you're celebrating a win, rebuilding after a tough loss, or gearing up for whatever comes next, we've got your back with tools, insights, and an expert crew that's always in your corner. Old National Bank, member FDIC, where relationships and results matter. At long last, Peggy Kusinski joins the show. A little behind the scenes here. Took Peggy, a good 35 minutes to figure this out?
Oh, my God.
Like
Can I just say something? Apple phones are quite amazing, but the brand new ones, I've had nothing but problems. Nothing but problems. I apologize.
Taking over your life?
Yes.
Okay.
Slowly.
Well, welcome in, Peggy. Peggy Kusinski, everybody. This is your debut appearance in Hoge Jahns? We've been on your podcast.
I was just going to say, you were on my podcast with my son, but I guess it is. Yeah, see, you've never invited me. What is this, year 8 for you, Adam? Thanks.
I think it's like
running out of
10.
gas.
Yes.
Thanks.
Maybe.
Appreciate it.
Hoge's not here, so it's
you want to call
free reign for
someone
me.
that's already dead?
Anyway, Peggy, good to see you. Peggy and Dion show, ESPN 1000 on Saturdays. So we wanted to talk a little bit about Ben Johnson. And Peggy, what was the last year you were on the full-time beat covering the Bears? Was that Lovie? Was it John Fox? Was it John Fox's last couple of years?
It was. So it's funny because right when the Cubs won, that was what, 16?
16.
Okay. So, I had told Tom Ricketts at an event I was emceeing with him, I said that if the Cubs won the World Series, I would retire. And sure enough, I retired the next year. So it was 2017, but I went freelance. So my last true year of covering on the beat was 2017, but I was working part-time for about 3 years, and then when COVID hit, they got rid of all the freelancers. So yeah.
So that was the last year of John Fox, because
Yes.
2018 happens. You have Matt Nagy, you have his booms, you have his BU, you have all his trick plays. So you missed all that.
Yes.
Let's forget everything that happened between that after that. Now you have Ben Johnson getting cheered on at the Blackhawks games. Like, what do you two make of Ben Johnson and the Bears and just the hold he has on the city right now?
I've told Dionne this before that, my first week working in television in Chicago, 1993, January 1993, Mike Ditka got fired. That was my first week on the job in Chicago. I was just kind of thrown into the lion pit. He reminds me so much of Ditka. And I've said this to Dionne before that, he could be so charming in front of the microphone. He's got that game face that you don't dare to try to break. He's all business. He does not give two shits at all what anyone thinks of him. He doesn't care what anyone, if someone gets upset with him. Here's an example with, was it Aditi, the CBS sideline reporter? After, he was really short with her when she had the statement of, you have to do something. And he said, you think? When that went viral, most teams would jump on the spin wheel and be like, okay, what are we going to do to fix this? You're going to do an apology. And he kind of sort of barely apologized. It was like, yeah, I got to be better. It wasn't a, hey, and I actually really like that. I like it because this is old school football. There's no, if you can't take the heat, get out of the fire. And that's how Ditka was. You had to be prepared. The only thing he does not do like Ditka, besides roller skating in the old Metrodome, is he doesn't challenge the reporters at the microphone. And Ditka used to challenge you. So if you were, I say my first week was when he was fired, but prior to that, I was a producer for ESPN in Bristol. And so I came back to Chicago a lot to do Bears stories. And Ditka just challenged you all the time. What do you mean by that? Give me an example. What are the numbers? You had to come into the press conferences really ready. And Ben doesn't do that. He's very likable at the microphone. But from everything I've heard, once that press conference is over, he's right back to business. And there is no lingering around, making small talk and being buddy-buddy. He has business to do. And that's how he carries himself around Hallis Hall as well. So, yeah, this is what all the Bears fans have been craving, is another Mike Ditka.
I feel like, Dionne, you're in those press conference rooms with me. Like, have there been signs of him challenging us, though? Like, I want to say with Pat Norton, our friend from CHGO, there was one about the officials. I want to say there was a back and forth with Pat Finley where he asked for certain specifics in terms of which play he was referencing.
He's pushed on Jason Leisure a couple times too. Been like, no, explain. What do you mean? What do you mean? And I've seen that. I'm with you, Peggy. I appreciate that he didn't apologize, because to him, it was just like, well, look, we were in the moment and we're doing something. Like, I didn't feel like I had anything to apologize. It's the same thing when people are all up in arms because he's saying F the Packers. Well, you know what? I think George McCaskey would say F the Packers if he knew he could still go to heaven and say the F word, right? I think he's in agreement with this. Like, this is what it's supposed to be. This is what we want. We don't want someone who wants kumbaya like Marc Trestman. Let's change everybody's locker around so we're all eating dinner together and we're all good friends. And then Eberflus was the same way, where he was like, no, we care so much about each other, and that's going to make a difference. Well, let me tell you something. Winning makes you care about your guy next to you, right? And you're fighting, you're going through stuff together. The hardest training camps they've been through. A coach who is so self-confident that he can implement his plan and not care what anybody thinks about it, because this is his plan, and you either get on board or you're not part of the team. And that's who he is, and that's what we want. And we want a coach like that because he's going to draw the best out of them. And then when it works, it's like, oh, who doesn't want to get on board with that? That's why he's getting a standing ovation at the Bulls game, at the Blackhawks game. And I love it. And I loved that he was with his kids in the Blackhawks suite. And his little boy was just as excited as everybody else that he was there, right? Like, it was like a moment for him to share with his family. And I love it. I love how self-deprecating he was at the Bulls game when he pretended to take his shirt off. Like, he gets it. He knows that he's kind of in this position where all eyes are on him, but also he wants football and to go home and come back and talk about football. Like, that's just who he is. And that's what we've learned about him in his 1 year with us. That's been so impressive.
But beware, because today's professional athlete may not always find that to be cute and fun like that. But it doesn't mean that, the star athlete, what are they going to make now? $165 million. Those guys walk through that locker room. Yeah, maybe the first year you want to make a good impression on the coach, but ask Joe Madden. Now, Joe Madden was more of the, goofy and kind of, that stuff. But I don't know, Adam, how many name the how many real hard ass football coaches there are that last, like true, like where people are like, he is a hard ass, you could probably name them on one hand, that it's a hard balance beam to walk when you are coaching professional athletes. I love it. I loved how it was last year. I am so intrigued to see how it keeps working.
Can you recall any coach from any sport being introduced at another team's game where they, on the Jumbotron, use his post-game speech, like they show it, and then they cut to him, and that head coach gets a standing ovation? Like, I can't think of another example in my Chicago sports writing history where that has happened. And that literally just happened at the United Center, Ben Johnson at the Blackhawks game. Like, he's introduced, everybody saw the pictures, but they did the whole good, better, best thing before they introduced him. That's crazy to me. Like,
I don't know. I mean, when the Blackhawks won their 3 cups, Joel Quenneville was the toast of the town. And all of a sudden, there were more hockey fans in Chicago than we knew ever existed. Now I'm not sure many people could identify who the Blackhawks coach is. So, Joel Quenneville was pretty identifiable.
We'll talk about a hard ass. There you go.
No doubt.
Yeah,
no
that's
question.
a good point. But gosh, no, not with the Bulls, because you could be the hard ass but not win. Yeah, I mean, that it really is amazing how much he has become beloved in this city, and it's because the city truly has wanted, a gritty coach that is in your face, I don't care, and oh, by the way, we're going to win.
Yeah. And I think too, what I'm most intrigued about, and Tom Waddle has said this for months on our air at ESPN Radio, that he doesn't think he'll do good, better, best a second year. And I don't either. I think he's smart enough to know that it's the new year. Adam, it struck me so much at that end of the year press conference, how quickly he was calling it last year. It was like 4 days prior, and he was calling it last year. And that's, to me, means like, we're reset. This is a totally different group. So that worked for that. I don't think he is going to try to run it back with that. I think he's going to do something different, because he's that aware.
You think he will?
I think he will, because it means something to him. I think he'd be like, I don't care what people think. That's what we're doing. They did it in Detroit. They did it.
But it wasn't as
because he wasn't
as it was. Right. It wasn't as public as it is now. And I don't know. I think he'll do something different. I do.
I mean, they did it in their meeting rooms on the offensive side of the ball. They're not doing it in the locker room because he's not the head coach. So I think he's kind of one of those people who's like, I don't really care what anyone thinks. Yeah, this is what we're doing. Now they might put a little bit more restrictions on the social media team and let them know, and you hit a rough stretch. They got a tough schedule next year. And all of a sudden, there's no good, better. It's only good, worse. It could become a problem. But I just think he just marches to his own drum that he's like, I don't really care what anyone thinks. This is what I do.
I remember when the Bears had Club Dub in, was it 2019 or it had to be 2019. I'm forgetting the exact specifics, but it was a losing streak had just ended. I'll look it up quickly. And they go Club Dub. And I remember being outside that locker room, and there was like an awkwardness to it because they had just lost 3 or 4 games in a row, and there was a bunch of questions about what was working, what wasn't working. Is Trubisky the future? Like something felt off about what was afoot with Club Dub. Where I know what players said afterwards about it, but to me, like that's what I think about with Good, Better, Best, where that Nagy team didn't like evolve into something else. And like to further this conversation, I just think about all the moves the Bears have made this offseason, like Kevin Byard. Gone. Deshaun Wright, gone. Tremaine Edmonds, gone. DJ Moore, gone. Talk about flipping the page and getting into a new team almost immediately. The Bears' offseason moves have done that for Ben Johnson.
Yeah. They totally have. And Adam, I remember that game too. I remember how awkward Club Dub felt. It felt forced. It didn't feel authentic. I think everything Ben Johnson's done has been authentic because he's read the room. Now he's got a new room to read, right? Because they've made all these changes and because that leadership is different. The guys they let go of, 3 of them were captains. Like these are guys who had the command in the room because their voices resonated so much because of their experience, and they don't have that now. Now, how that adjusts or who they call on to be that voice. Are we going to hear more from Caleb? Is Kobe Bryant going to suddenly be one of those kind of guys? I don't know how that changes. Jalen Johnson, if he's healthy enough, is he going to be a voice? It just is going to be a different dynamic. And you hope, I agree with you, Peggy. Ben Johnson is who he says he is, and he does what he says he's going to do, and he leads his team that way with no apologies. I get it. But I also think he's very keen at reading what his room needs. And I think we'll kind of see that evolve as they get to know each other a little bit better.
I think there's no doubt that Ben Johnson is building his team. No doubt. And what Kevin Byard did for an all-pro season at his age was phenomenal. But haven't we said forever that the Chicago teams like the Bears, they need to be one of those teams that's not afraid, like the Eagles, to get rid of players in their prime and move on. Kevin Byard, there is no guarantee he is going to have the same year next year. Same thing with Deshaun Wright. There's no guarantee he's going to have that same type of season. I think that they were both smart fiscal moves. I think the only thing that worries me is, does that mean that Dennis Allen has job security when they get rid of guys that, they're going to bring in guys that are more fitting of the mold of Dennis Allen's defense? Then that to me says he has job security. Because you're not going to go out, if the defense looks terrible again, the numbers, they ranked in the bottom third of the NFL, then you're going to bring in players that are his type of player, but then you're going to bring in a potential new defensive coordinator in another year, So to me, I think it's interesting. I think it might say that he's got job security.
Yeah, how much time does he get to rebuild his defense? And so we saw Ben Johnson flip that offense almost immediately. Gets Joe Thuney, gets Jonah Jackson, gets Drew Dahlman, offensive line makeover done. Then you have the draft selection of Colston Loveland. Then you have the draft selection of Luther Burden. Then you have the draft selection of Kyle Monangai. Like the overhaul happened so quickly. So I'm interested to see how quickly this defense can be overhauled with Dennis Allen's influence, with Ben Johnson's input, because we just saw it happen on offense. But I feel like Ryan Poles has had a tougher time drafting defense, specifically up front.
Yeah. You think? He
Yeah.
keeps relying on the coaches to coach these guys up. A Dominic Robinson, who is a converted offensive player, they just hang on to these guys, and they're so convinced that they can get something out of them. It's almost like how they used to be with the offensive line, that the value of the offensive line was so far down on their payroll totem pole that they were like, no, we're going to be able to coach these guys. And then last year they went and they put them up here. And now the defense is the one that's way down here.
Mhm.
And, that's why it shakes me, because if that 25th pick, if they keep that pick, if that is another offensive lineman, I swear to God, I'm going to stand up and walk out, because when are they going to get a true pass rusher that who's the last one? Who's the last one that they drafted?
You have to go all the way back to when you started covering the team. But even then, like, the best pass rusher from the Lovie Smith era is Julius Peppers, free agent signing, drafted by another team.
Yeah.
Then Ryan Pace, Khalil Mack, Montez Sweat for Ryan Poles. The best three pass rushers, the most recent ones, they've all been selected by other teams and brought in different ways, whether it's free agency or trade.
Right. I'm trying, I go back to Alex Brown was brought in from Florida. God, I feel like there was someone else around that time.
Mark Anderson.
That's it. Mark Anderson.
Adewale Agunle.
Adewale. Yeah. Adewale. But Adewale came from Miami.
Yeah.
He wasn't drafted.
He was a free agent signing.
Yeah. So it's just really like, I just want to see them actually draft one that they can hang on to for years. Like, what you talk about, the 85 Bears with Mike Ditka. Where's the Richard Dent that stays for almost his entire career until he goes out to pasture with the 49ers? Like, it's just, it's time. It's time. And I'm like craving to see that.
The last time they drafted a defensive lineman in any capacity, I guess in any capacity, was Trevis Gibson. No, was Dominic Robinson, of course. But before that was Trevis Gibson in the 5th round. Other than that, let's see. Bilal Nichols.
First round.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I mean, Roquan was taken in 2018, inside linebacker. That was, I believe, and then from then on, their first pick has been offense all the way through. David Montgomery, Cole Kmet, Justin Fields. They did draft Kyler Gordon and Jaquan in 2022, not in the first round, of course. Darnell in the first round. Caleb. No.
Leonard Floyd. Like, Leonard Floyd comes to mind.
Leonard Floyd. What was that, 13?
2016. Like, Leonard Floyd comes to mind, but he was drafted more for his versatility than anything. That was a Vic Fangio.
And he was considered the tweener,
Not these pass rushers that were all projecting for Dennis Allen's defense. The physical makeup is just considerably different. But Leonard Floyd, actually, he's had a nice career. But the conversation I remember that year is how he became a top 10 pick almost, not out of nowhere. But this is what happens. That was a really thin year for defensive ends, for pass rushers. And he rose from like a fringe first round pick to a top 10 pick because of, well, his physical gifts. And but he was never, he would tell you this himself, he was never that prototypical Julius Peppers like defensive end, though.
Right. So that's why it pains me. It pains me because they have not been able to develop them. And I mean, you have a Jervon Dexter, you have these inside defensive linemen who get 5 and 6 sacks and go and sign Drew Rosenhaus to get a new deal. It's like, you can't even stop the run. It's like they're playing what this coaching staff has done. And this, to get back to my original thought, is some smoke and mirrors with the hand they were dealt. And where it really showed up as them really struggling was defense. So yes. So let's see what kind of influence that is. It Dennis Allen, or is it going to be Ben Johnson when it comes to the defensive type players that are brought into this team?
I have one final thought on Ben Johnson and his impact on the entire organization. I want to get to this before we go to our break. One of the most concrete moments that I thought, where I felt like Ben Johnson is changing this team, is when the social media team funds him swearing about the Packers in the post-game celebration. This was a team just like months earlier, like a year earlier, where you're watching Hard Knocks. You're like, I'm pretty sure I heard swearing at practice. Like they have one coach in particular who swears a lot, and he is not at all like being shown during Hard Knocks. And we found out later this is what the Bears wanted. So to see the Bears themselves on their own social media accounts share Ben Johnson's celebration, his F the Packers, like, to me, that felt like such a departure for George McCaskey. And that is because of Ben Johnson. What did you guys make of that in the moment? And am I making too much out of this, do you think?
Not when we know that they requested no swear words in Hard Knocks. I mean, as like a team that didn't want to have that reflected on their organization, I don't think you're making too much of it. But I think George was very confidently saying, we are on the same page, and I'm fully aware of what's happening there. It was not a decision made independent of a blessing from George McCaskey. I truly believe that. And I think it was kind of a moment where Ben owned the rivalry, and he owned his place in it and the history he wants to make with his team. And it felt like it was a big deal. It did, based on the history of what we've seen from this team.
Put it this way, Adam, if the swearing had to do, dropping an F-bomb had to do with anything else, it would not have been on the social media. The only reason it was allowed was because it was about the Packers. And that truly is as that George McCaskey feels about that rivalry. We went back and we were Googling the rivalry, way back to George Halas and Lombardi. And, they didn't shake hands after a game. And here we are waiting for the camera to see how is this going to be, like the real quick, little high five as they go and everything. Well, back then, the writers were writing about the fact that they did not shake hands after. There was a healthy respect, but they did not shake hands. They truly hated each other. And I think that is all. George has made sure that we've heard this since Lovie Smith. They make sure that whoever walks in that door at Halas Hall is well aware of the hatred for the Packers. We've made fun of it in the past, but no one has taken it to the level that Ben Johnson has, and it's kind of made it fun again. So I don't think we would.
Sports are supposed to be fun. Rivalries are supposed to be full of.
It's what I said. It's maybe too much of the handshake line. It's gotten exchanging jerseys. Yeah. Sometimes you go back and you're like, yeah, this is really nice and it's great. Like I was looking at Bill Self's face on the Kansas bench as they lost in the final second of the tournament, and the look on his face was, it took like a flash of a second, and then he just turned and was like, okay, that's the ending. Let's go. Season's over. And I thought, no way. I'd be like, mother, it would be like, I would be pulling my hair out. I like it. I like that we're going back to that. I really do. Not everyone has to do it, but I think it works.
Well, I just think what's made Chicago sports great is its rivalries, right? It's the Bulls and the Pistons, then the Knicks. It's the Hawks and the Red Wings, and then the Hawks for a few years against the Canucks, where they're fighting every single game that they play, because there's respect there, but there's a hatred that comes with it, because that respect is you want to beat the hell out of the guy that you're playing against, and the guy wants to do the same to you. So to see a coach actually vocalize that and like live that, I think that's more than endearing than anything, especially in the city. So if you want to cheer them at a Blackhawks game, like that's reason number one for me. Just reigniting that rivalry with the Green Bay Packers.
It's one thing to hate your rival. It's another thing to hate them and know you can beat them. And I think that made a huge difference this year too. Just winning those games, like not just talking the talk. Like they actually won those games in spectacular, dramatic fashion, like unforgettable, like franchise-altering moments that people will talk about for the rest of their lives. Like it was such a moment, I think, for this team, for this franchise to finally push back in that rivalry. It was like I will never forget sitting there in the press box and watching DJ Moore make that catch and the whole stadium rising up and rocking and shaking. And it was just a cool moment. And to know that your coach feels the way the fans do about that team, gosh, like how can you not want to give him a standing ovation?
And just like in good old Ditka way, I told somebody inside Hallis Hall last week, I said, I'm really looking forward to meeting Ben Johnson. I said, I just want to meet him. And their reaction was, yeah, good luck with that. Because they're like, he's all business. He really is all business. Like, unless you have even if you have a scheduled interview with him, he gets right down to business. So I love it. I think it's great. It's, what I grew up with here in Chicago. And I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. The best coaches live it with the city. We're going to take a quick timeout. And then when we come back, can we talk about the stadium quickly before we get out of here? I know you have some thoughts. I know I have some thoughts. But first, our friends at Sunnyside Dispensary are here to elevate your baseball, football, hockey seasons. Even though they're almost over, but baseball season's starting this week. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free shopping. They have a crazy selection with over 100 different strands to choose from with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Wherever you are in Illinois, Sunnyside has a location for you. They have spots as far south as Champaign and as far north as South Beloit. Stop in the store nearest you for expert guidance from their staff. Head to their website for only the best under the sun, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. It's 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. That's HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Sunnyside Dispensary, only the best under the sun. Only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders. You know that moment? The one you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of your car or just really anywhere, or maybe your kid walked off with them and you no longer have them for the baseball game that you're at and watching. Well, let me tell you about Shady Rays. Shady Rays has changed the game for sunglasses. These sunglasses are made for real life. Seriously good-looking, polarized, durable, and not extremely expensive. My wife and I literally just ordered a pair last week, and they were here in a matter of days. We liked them already. We love them already. I can't wait to wear them on the beach. And here's the wild part. If you lose or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So now I actually wear my sunglasses without fear on hikes, at concert, at baseball games, on the boat, wherever. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. So go to shadyrays.com and use code CHGOSR. That's CHGOSR for 40% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. That's CHGOSR for 40% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Go to shadyrays.com. All right, so the Bears at some point in our lives here will build a new stadium. I'm not sure when or where even, but I caught some of your show on Saturday, and Peggy, you were reporting some things.
Yeah.
Here or there. I don't mind if you want to repeat those things here, but
yeah,
like what's going on with the stadium stuff?
So here's the thing. First of all, we appreciate that you listen to Peggy and Dion,
yes.
The guilty pleasure of most sports fans in Chicago, Saturdays from 11 to 1 on ESPN Chicago app. Okay, so I was quite shocked when I found this out, and I was not expecting to hear what I had heard. When pressed upon saying, like, who's the front runner right now, Arlington Heights or Indiana? A and again, this is not dual sourced. This is just one very very good source, very good insider, responded with 51% Indiana. And it made my jaw drop open. I honestly thought that Indiana was just a ploy to get the politicians in Illinois moving. And that's not the case at all. I did also hear, now this is actually kind of funny. I did also hear that our president, our current sitting president, actually has put a little pressure on Indiana's lawmakers to do whatever it took to get the Bears so that he could stick it to our governor, his nemesis, who he just despises, J.B. Pritzker, and as just a little bit of gamesmanship. Now, I don't think that means that they were like, oh, yes, Mr. President, here we go. But I do think that the Indiana moves are much more serious than I think most of us thought. And with the legislative session ending, I have friends who have worked as lobbyists in Springfield, and they're always talking about getting out at the end of May. And if any bill keeps them over Memorial Day weekend, then they're all up in arms. So there should be reason to worry that the Bears stadium was supposed to go in front of a finance committee meeting a week or so again. It did not. It was on the docket. It did not get discussed. It's never good when things are delayed in Springfield because we are at the end of March and they're not adding things to the dockets. If it doesn't get discussed in the next week and there is really some movement, I really do think that this stadium deal is in trouble in Illinois.
I've always thought it's more real, maybe based on our reporting here at HGO, that it's more real than anyone really wanted to argue otherwise, just because I don't think the Bears would ever go down this road, this far down this road, if they wouldn't seriously weigh all their options in terms of what a move meant, including George McCaskey himself.
Yeah.
I don't think Illinois could come up with a deal as good as Indiana's. They just can't. Illinois could just hope to get close to there and then hope that George McCaskey and his family has, don't call it a change of heart, but the preference of having them in Illinois is something they want to stand by and live by, building that stadium there, considering they still own that land. But I think the Bears have every right to be impatient at this point. Like, every day to them is money spent. Like, it's maintaining that property.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the cost of construction going up and up and up. It's something they take into account. And I think they have reached a point where, well, maybe their patience is just about run its course, where they're done, where they're looking at Indiana as now their most viable option.
I don't know that it's just patience, though, Adam. I think that there's a lot of financial issues that come into play. The 1-year anniversary of Virginia's death should be noted because when you file the taxes on those estate taxes, the value of the Bears franchise is what they evaluate. And there is not a single McCaskey that could pay those taxes on $1 billion franchise. So I'm sure they filed a extension. Typically extensions can be for the state 6 months to a year. Federal, you can get up to a year. You can keep filing extensions, but it doesn't mean you don't owe that money. Then you just keep compounding the money that is owed. And I do think that the money that was supposed to come in with the stadium would have also gone towards paying those estate taxes. Listen, we saw what happened with the wide receiver market last week. What's going to happen with the quarterback market when Caleb Williams? They don't have any other way of making money. You can go to Indiana, but you're just going to have a stadium. If you go to Arlington Heights, now you have an income that's coming in so many other ways.
You're a landlord.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I think that there's a lot of pushback. I know that Pat Ryan is the only, non-McCaskey with any large amount of interest. I think it's at 13% now. But it gets the nod of approval for any new buyers in. I know that there has been new buyers within his little, I mean, Pat Ryan's in his 80s too. I
Mhm.
mean, this is something they really do need to wrap up for the future of the team, the future of the McCaskies, and passing this down to their kids. This is really the state of Illinois could really mess this up bad.
Dionne,
And
question.
Adam,
Good.
I agree with you, Adam. I don't think that the Bears would allow Indiana to go this far with their approvals and what they've done if they didn't have genuine interest in it, right? Like I felt like even though it feels it in the moment, it was like this isn't really happening. But then the more you think about it, you're like, no, they would not have allowed them to get this far ahead if they had not had conversations that thought that this could possibly be real. I agree with that. It is alarming to hear that 51% Indiana over Illinois. I think that is shocking, Peggy. Like that isn't, I don't think, what they genuinely want. But also, Illinois has had 3 years of knowing what the Bears' desire was and to move forward. Not a 3-hour meeting the night before Indiana said all this stuff. It's 3 years that they've had to show some movement, some progress, something that says we're going to get there, and that hasn't been there. I mean, it's been frustrating.
The Bears want the stadium built in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
They want it done in 3 years, and it just is not moving very quickly at all in the state of Illinois, and it's just embarrassing. The only thing that they could possibly have going for them would be the negative publicity that JB Pritzker would get now that his name is being tossed about to be on the presidential ticket for the Democratic Party coming up in 2 years. And I think that you really, that's when they really start to weigh, oh, wait a second, is this going to be a negative? But I've always stood up for the people. So I hate it. I hate it. I hate it because, yes, with all the problems in our state, there should be enough in government to split to everyone that needs something. And if you're talking about infrastructure, let me tell you something. If they were building Great America, you better believe that they'd make sure that 294, was redone because of all the new cars that are going to be getting off the exit in Gurnee. It just, to me, it's a really bad politics going on right now.
Well, wasn't there just some recent approval in Joliet to build the largest data center, like the size of Central Park in New York City, just outside Joliet?
JB Pritzker has a list of approved mega deals, and those are ones that he believes would put Illinois into the future, and data centers fall under that. They put them into the future. I guess he just doesn't look at a new Bears stadium as being anything that puts the state into the future.
Maybe the problem is the design of the stadium itself. Maybe if it looked cool. Like if there's something I hate is that I hope it goes down the road with Arlington Heights, selfishly because it's so much closer to me, and the Bears should stay in Illinois. I know how close that part of Indiana is, though, and to me, that's part of the Chicagoland area. That is the Chicago area, in my opinion. I don't think, there's Chicago Bears fans. There's colleagues of ours that live in that part of Indiana, cover Chicago sports teams. Yeah. That's how close that part of Indiana is. But selfishly, Arlington Heights is closer to my house, Wolf Lake, Indiana. But that stadium design is, can we dig into our roots of being Chicagoans, where our architecture is a source of civic pride, and build something better than the Raiders have in Las Vegas?
Right.
Like that would maybe generate more excitement, wouldn't it?
I know. I would love to know also, I'd love to know the percentage of Bears season ticket holders that live up north. I would think it's pretty high. Now, you could say that the fan base is absolutely the entire state, and absolutely goes to Northwest Indiana and as far south, as you want to go. But your season ticket holders, boy, and you listen, we all know the PSLs now, what they cost. The PSLs that they're going to charge with a new stadium.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's a season ticket holder, doesn't even want to open the letter. He's like, I don't even want to look at it yet.
Just burn it.
I know.
I had heard years ago that when they were first looking at the Arlington Heights, that research was done, like that the northwest suburbs is probably where the greater percentage of season ticket holders live. But that was a while ago. What I have heard from recently are the season ticket holders from Mount Greenwood or from Beverly or from Frankfurt or from New Lenox. Their commute to Indiana is a lot easier than going to Arlington Heights. They're a lot closer to the border of Indiana than they would be going to the far northwest suburbs where Arlington Heights is.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
We'll see.
I don't like it.
I
don't like it. I want Arlington Heights. I just think that it's it's more of what stadiums are going towards in the future, and I just think that it's embarrassing that our state has acted the way it has.
What's your prediction?
I think there's going to be literally a last second Hail Mary that will happen somehow, some way. I do. I think that if you want to put pressure on JB Pritzker, you better start talking to him in terms of his future too. And I think that's what there's going to be a Hail Mary and something will get done.
Dionne?
I agree. I think Arlington Heights is ultimately where they end up. I think it's going to be a sweating it out in the moment till the end. But I agree with you, Peggy. I think it's going to be a last minute thing. But they're going to figure it out. But it would be nice if architecturally they had it somehow reflect Soldier Field, the iconic look of Soldier Field. Like, could we not do that?
Yeah.
Could that not be part of it?
Be more creative than what
you have there. I mean, like that's the
Lift
one
the
thing
columns.
people complain.
Lift the columns out.
Lift the columns and bring them along. That's the one thing people were critical of when they did that renovation, right? Like, it looks like you put a spaceship on top of this war memorial. Okay, well, like let's think this through. Like, think it through. We have the most talented architects. Just spent 48 hours downtown. We have the most beautiful buildings in our city. Beautiful. Like, have it reflect that, no matter where you locate it. That's all.
Well, Dionne, Peggy and Dionne, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. I hope everybody watching or listening enjoyed this. You'll be on the radio or on the ESPN app on this Saturday, correct?
Yes, we will. Saturdays 11 to 1. You can always catch us on the ESPN Chicago app.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Read all my stuff on all CHGO. Use code Jahns, Jahns, to subscribe. Be a diehard subscriber to get all of our writing. Bears, Blackhawks, Bulls, more. It's all there. Cubs starting this week. Sox too, if you're into that. We also cover them as well. I kid. But this was fun. Peggy, Dionne, thank you so much. Friends of the show. And I'll be on your show on Saturday. I promise you I won't have as many difficulties as someone had joining this show today.
Oh, come on. If it was easy, it wouldn't be so fun, Adam.
True. Very
That's
true.
true.
Thank you so much. We will see everybody.